so people can hear the example, because this is something we'll do later. The question was, so that this goes through the recording, with the tener prompts, oh my gosh, you got tener in there. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? Well, you're supposed to fill it out with the rest of an idea that makes sense according to what that means. So it's a fill in the rest of the blank, not necessarily with, so each sentence uses a tener expression, but you don't have to use a tener expression.
Oh.
So in other words, tengo, primero, número uno, cuando tengo hambre, prefiero comer, prefiero comer fruta.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So in other words, it gives you a tener expression and you fill out the rest of an idea to continue that idea.
I was trying to do it with tener and it just doesn't make sense.
But that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, thank you.
Entiendo. Gracias. Sí.
Gracias.
Okay. Yeah, just so filling in with an idea that makes sense with that tener idiom. That's what that's about. Okay. Vale, son las 9:30. Wow, it is 9:30. Feliz lunes y muy buenos días. Bienvenidos, bienvenidas. Welcome to everybody. Today we have at least 2, maybe 3 little breakout room sessions using different things. Today I want us to, we're going to do another little thing where you go into small rooms and you talk about, you pick one item out of a group of 4 that is different and talk about why it is different. We did a little exercise like that last week. We're going to do a similar one today, and we'll do a little preview before you go off into groups to do that. We're going to do a little group session on picking 5, you picking 5 stem changing verbs, any stem changing verbs that are most useful for you, and creating a sentence with that. So I have given you some websites, and you just have from what we practiced in class the last couple of weeks. You know, there are tons and tons and tons of stem changing verbs, but you know, you may not need negar to deny ever, you know, but pick 5, any kind of stem change, any 5 verbs that you feel you would use the most in regular conversation, and just create one sentence for each verb. So we'll send you off into groups to do that. And then we're going to do our little session on those tener idioms, finishing the sentences from the prompts that you had in the homework page, and completing an idea with a sentence that uses a tener idiom, expanding on a sentence. So, okay. We'll be doing those, and we'll preview each little activity as we go along. There is one little warm up video I want to show you, which has nothing to do with any of those exercises, but it is a great little video because it hits upon, well, it does. It uses a stem changing verb that you may desperately want to use, but shows you why it is wrong to use in that context. And this is about an almost, well, 4.5 minute video. So we're going to take a quick look at that just as a warm up. This is a general information kind of thing. We have it. I'll check my sound boxes here. Just something to think of. So an idiom, excuse me, not an idiom, a stem changing verb that people often want to use because it's kind of a translation of the English idea is puedo tener, can I have? Because you say, hey, can I have an extra knife? Can I have a glass of water? All right. And so people think they can just say, as we would in English, can I have? Puedo tener. That is not a thing. And they're going to show you why and what to use instead. And so the important thing is to what to use instead. So this is a good kind of a warm up to look at. Can somebody give me a visual or an audio shout out? Can you see Paulísima? La morena, ¿sí? Okay. And puedo tener una servilleta. Can I have a napkin? No, no la puedes tener. No, you can't have it. Okay, so literally, they don't say it that way. So we'll
¿Puedo
watch
tener una
this.
servilleta? No, no la puedes tener. Please don't say that in a Mexican restaurant because puedo tener doesn't mean can I have in Spanish. It doesn't.
Yeah, people just don't use that. So she's going to tell you what they use instead. And there are many things you might say instead, but it will be what they would use in place of our English, can I have? All right. It's not a literal translation of can I have, but rather what a Spanish speaker would use instead of can I have.
Just wrong. Say puedo tener and your foreigner status will be discovered immediately. So how to ask for things in a restaurant or someplace else? I'm Paulísima, Spring Spanish teacher, and here are 5 chunks to ask for things in Spanish. Número 1, para mí.
And look at how easy that is. Para mí, for me. Can I have? For me. Es tan fácil, so easy. No verb. 2 words. Para mí.
Para mí. This is perfect for ordering in any kind of establishment when you are in the company of other people. ¿Ya están listos para ordenar? Para mí, la ensalada provenzal, por favor. Now you're in a taco stand. ¿De qué hay? De tripa, de suadero, de longaniza, campechanos, de pastor. Para mí, 2 de tripa bien doradita y 1 campechano, por favor. Número 2. ¿Me podrías traer?
Now, this one is a little more formal, a little more polite. Me podrías traer literally means, could you bring me? Could you do it? Not could you as in, are you able to, but could you, asking it as a favor, which is how we want to act in a restaurant because it is more polite. It softens it. Podrías is a verb form that is a soft pedal, a less forceful, a less strong word. It's not an order you're demanding. It's a really polite way of asking. Literally, could you bring me? Me podrías traer.
¿Me podrías traer una servilleta, por favor? ¿Me podrías traer un vaso de agua, por favor?
So these are very, and notice she accentuates that politeness with the por favor in the question. Me podría traer. Could you bring me? The traer means bring. Okay. And, okay.
Número 3. ¿Me podrías dar?
Same thing. Podrías is the polite way of saying could you. And dar is give. Could you give me? Okay. Could you give me? Again, this is often used when you're ordering stuff in a restaurant kind of setting, or maybe in a store if somebody is behind a counter and you can't reach back to the items behind the counter.
¿Me podrías dar? ¿Me podrías dar like, por favor? Yeah, in Mexico we don't like a video, we give it a like. Así que, por favor, ¿me podrías dar un like? How are you liking this video so far? Let me know in the comments if you're liking it and if...
And let's pass some of that. We're going to go on to...
For yourself. ¿Me podrías dar 2 tacos al pastor, por favor? ¿Me podrías dar un vaso de agua, por favor? ¿Me podrías dar un encendedor? Número 4. Me das.
Me das is a little more direct. Notice we don't have that super polite word, podrías, in front of this one. And especially if you're in a fast food kind of ordering, or you're ordering something out of a food truck on the street, this is an appropriate thing because it communicates the idea quickly. You know, you're placing your order and then they get to the guy right behind you. Okay. Me das. Me das literally give me. Okay. Would you give, or well, will you give me?
Este chunk es perfecto para usar en un lugar informal, como en una taquería en la calle. Aquí estoy usando la conjugación informal del verbo dar. Actually, I'm using the informal conjugation in all the chunks that you're learning today. A chunk is a pre-made phrase that native speakers use all the time. Because they're pre-made, you don't have to think about conjugation like me das every time you want to say this phrase.
And the way to make it informal is just to take the S off the das, or take the S off the podrías. That's all. Okay, so if you want to make it an usted thing, instead of me podrías with an S at the end, it becomes me podría. Okay, me das becomes me da. But you know, me das, especially if you're talking to some teenager who is, you know, waiting on you in a fast food setting, is perfectly okay.
You just learn the whole phrase like that because it's a chunk. You can just memorize the chunk, so trying to remember grammar stuff doesn't slow you down while you're trying to speak. Learning by chunks is a great way to speed your way into fluency. To learn about how to do just that,
let's skip that so we get to the next one.
all the Spanish chunks that you will need all the time. Número 5, me pasas.
Me pasas. Would you pass me? Would you hand it to me? So this is particularly if you're at a table and you're sharing a salt shaker, you know, you want somebody to hand you that dish so that you can, you know, scoop a portion out of that dish. There's a big water jug maybe in the center of the table for everybody, and you want them to pass you the jug.
Me pasas. This one is more like, can you pass me? But, you know, if you're sitting, eating lunch or dinner, whatever, it just works better than saying puedo tener. If you're new here, do subscribe to the Spring Spanish YouTube channel. And if you are an intermediate Spanish speaker, you might want to check out my other channel, Spring English. I'm pretty sure that you're going to find that content very useful as well. ¿Me pasas la sal, por favor? ¿Me pasas la salsa verde, por favor? You use this phrase exactly the same way that you would use, can you pass me? You know, like when you can't reach something that is like too high for you. ¿Me pasas esa caja, por favor? Número 6, resumen. Remember, we have me das, me podrías dar, me podrías traer, me pasas, and para mí.
Okay, so there is a quick summary of, instead of puedo tener, can I have, right? Literally, look at all these. Instead of saying can I have, we're often expressing, except for the para mí part, the other ones are all saying, can you do something for me? Okay, so rather than we're expressing it in English as we do as can I, it's would you do this for me? All right, and the only exception to that is the para mí. Para mí doesn't use any kind of verb. It's just saying, yeah, for me something, but oh, the guy sitting next to me may want something else. Okay.
¿Me das una Coca Light, por favor? ¿Me podrías dar un vaso de agua, por favor? ¿Me podrías traer una servilleta, por favor? ¿Me pasas la salsa, por favor? Para mí, 10 tacos de suadero, por favor. You know, there's another super common mistake that could actually be embarrassing.
And we'll talk about that another time. Yeah. As the weather heats up, we'll talk about that another time. Yeah, the way that people express the idea of I'm hot can be a problem, but we'll talk about that another week so that we save some fun for later. Okay, yeah. So fun little thing. Even though you have that verb puedo, puedo en español, puedo se usa para la habilidad. Puedo is really used for that ability to do something. And when we ask somebody for, can I have something, we use those other phrases in that little video. Okay, bien. Fantástico. Vamos a ver. I want to start off as a warm up with our little, and I forgot to make a little selection there. Un momentito. Tengo que cambiar una cosita. Put in one little item. Okay, a ver. Bien. We're going to, as kind of a warm-up drill, because there are no really right or wrong answers, we're going to do a little breakout room segment with these, and I'll show you what they are ahead of time. And I have named what these items are. Ooh. And the key is, ¿cuál es diferente en cada serie? Which one is different in each series? Because each line A, B, C has a set of 4 different items. ¿Cuál es diferente en cada serie y por qué? Which one is different in each series of photos and why? So I do want you to try to express in Spanish why. So take each line A, B, y C separately, okay? And I tell you what we call these things, right? En la línea A, la bici, que todo el mundo dice la bici. Everybody says la bici. Bicicleta, bicicleta, pero bici, como en inglés, bike instead of bicycle. El avión, el carro, el metro. Which one is different out of there and why? And you may have different reasons for why, and maybe you may pick different items because your reason for picking that item might be different than somebody else thinks. En la línea B, la piscina, alberca. Se usa la palabra alberca en Mexico. In Mexico, you hear a lot of people say the term la alberca instead of piscina, but they both mean a pool, okay? La piscina o la alberca, la cancha de básquetbol. Cancha es a court where you play a sport, ¿sí? Las pesas, weights, y la clase de yoga, okay? En la línea C, el paraguas, and it is el with paraguas, and it has an S at the end, okay? Paraguas means it stops water, stops waters, drops of water. El paraguas, el impermeable, impermeable, a raincoat, el abrigo y el sombrero. Okay, ¿vale?
That's confusing, the El Paraguas, because it's like kind of like plural, but you use
Qué buena observación. What a good observation that is. It is kind of, it looks plural, but it is not. So, okay, there are some words in Spanish, not a, well, yeah, I guess they're more significant. There are more of them than one might think, but there are some words that wind up having an S at the end, even though it is a singular thing. So el paraguas is one. Abre latas, the can opener, because it opens cans. Abre latas. Latas are cans, like tin cans, yeah? So something that opens a tin can, you know, whether it's electric or hand crank, is abre latas, right?
so latas is can. So what about if like more than one cans? How do you say it?
So if you've got like a bunch of can openers, you've got a hand cranker and you've got an electric model, right?
No, I mean the cans itself. You say lata?
Abre
Latas
latas.
is one can. How about
Abre
if it's more?
latas is a can opener. El paraguas is an umbrella. And the way you say umbrellas, more than one, okay, is just changing it to los. Los paraguas would be umbrellas, more than one. But el paraguas is umbrella, just one. El paraguas. That's all.
Okay.
Eso es, that's all.
Vacaciones, also, right?
Vacaciones is always plural. Unas vacaciones, but it's las vacaciones. But there we use a las, not la
okay.
vacaciones. Yeah, vacaciones is just used in the plural. And it is always used as a plural. It's just what they do. So, yeah. I guess there are things that do all kinds of different little flippy flappies on that one, but okay. Bien. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any kind of question on that? No? Okay. I'll send you out to do this as kind of a warm up. And remember, this is the kind of thing, there really are no wrong answers, but I'll send you out to do that for maybe 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and kind of compare some ideas and some of the whys, because sometimes the reasons why we pick one thing as this is different from the other 4 can be kind of interesting.
Marilyn?
So, sí.
Marilyn, actually, can I ask a question?
Sí.
I don't know really exactly how to answer if it's not like the others. Should I use gustar, or should I?
Oh, how you answer it can be any way at all. So
Okay.
yeah, no,
All right.
it can be very personal, it can be very general. It could be because I like it. That's possible. It could be because one thing is a certain way. It can be one thing is made out of a certain material. It can be one thing is intended to be used by a one person instead of a group of people. It could be any reason at all. It could be a personal reason. It could be a general reason. Does that make sense?
I just want, but I just was wondering whether I should say what verb I should use or whatever.
Anything.
Okay.
No importa. It does not matter. It does not matter which verb you use. It is just an opportunity for you to talk a little bit off the cuff about things that are not that are not super hard. Okay. Okay. I will open this up. Otra pregunta. Any other question before we start or no? No. Okay.
Just one thought. If I wanted to say the airplane is red, I use S, but if I want to say it's outside, I would say está afuera.
Right.
I have
with
I
verbs
can
like
picture that word. I can't quite say it.
yeah. Okay, so right. Está talks about location, and es would talk about characteristics of like how it looks or what it's made out of.
I have another question. Sorry, this may have nothing to do with what we're gonna do, but the ser and estar, on Duolingo, I have these things like these coats are dirty, and they're using estar.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
see.
don't understand that. I mean, I read on internet it's because it's like a temporary thing. They're going to be clean later or something. This is so confusing.
That is true. That explanation is right. Okay, so before we go off, let's do a little mini thing here.
So how do I don't know?
Okay, es buena pregunta.
Yeah, I thought I knew when to use ser and estar, but I think I'm confused.
Entiendo. Let's do a little mini ser estar, because often when we describe things, we wind up using ser estar because we want to say something is a certain way or these things are a certain way. And oh my gosh, and this is more permanent, this is more temporary. Okay, so when you're deciding between ser and estar, yes, that you want to get down to a 50-50 rule, because I don't want to like mentally do gymnastics between 15 different reasons for using ser, you know, versus maybe 4 or 5 reasons for using estar. And I want to get down to a real quick thing where I can make a 50-50 decision. And the 50-50 issue is often whether it is a description, a characteristic that is somewhat permanent. That is, when we say permanent, don't overthink it. Something that would be very difficult to change, would take a lot of effort and time to change, you know, or whether there is a temporary characteristic. Here are the things to know about ser estar. Ser is an ID issue. It identifies what something really is. It tells you what the core, what the essence of that thing is. All right. When we say something is permanent, where you're from, that's permanent. I can't change where something is from. What material something is made out of, I can't change that. If something is made out of cotton, it's made out of cotton. If it's made out of metal, it's made out of metal. It's going to be ser, okay? Profession is considered ser, what you do for a living. I know it could change, but takes a lot of effort. Yeah, okay. So profession, we use ser. Anything that is a characteristic that is hard to change. Okay. Sure, you could change your hair color, but you know, in general, it's one thing as a general rule. Okay. Estar is pretty much more set in stone. We use estar for location, and we use estar to talk about health and feelings and conditions, not characteristics, but conditions that easily change. Okay, so the
So
class
for example, the door is open. That's estar.
it's estar, exacto.
This is, yeah.
Open and close is yeah, it's kind of an on-off situation. Yeah.
So you have to do mental gymnastics. I mean, you have to think like, is this semi-permanent or not, or I don't know.
It is kind of, no, you've got a good point there. Yeah, we can overthink that. But okay, for example, if you talk about these clothes are dirty, okay, the clothes in this pile are dirty, the clothes in this pile are clean, right? La ropa está sucia. It's always estar. Dirty is definitely, it is not a characteristic. All clothes are not dirty. It is a condition. And you're right. It does kind of feel like mental gymnastics. That is a good way to to express it. It is sort of a mental gymnastics thing. French, I don't believe has this at all, does it?
No.
Yeah. And but it is something, you know, okay, food. Okay, más bien, sí, mi taza de café está caliente. This is hot. But I could not, you know, if I'm talking about fire being hot, fire is not a changeable condition with heat is not a changeable condition with fire. Cold is not a changeable condition with ice. The state of ice being the essence of what ice is, it's got to be cold to be ice. And if it isn't, that is no longer ice. It turns into a liquid state. It's kind of like that. Now, where we get into kind of some mental gymnastics is, you know, a lot of times we use estar to say something looks a certain way or tastes a certain way. I might say, la comida está muy buena. Está muy rica. It is very tasty. It is very delicious, meaning it tastes delicious. Wow, the way you fixed this, it tastes delicious. I might say, estás muy bonita hoy. You are really pretty today, meaning you look very pretty today, versus eres muy bonita. Well, you're a very pretty girl. You're always a very pretty girl, but estás muy bonita says, woo, you did something special to yourself, girl. So that's the part that can kind of throw people off. But this is like very vanilla stuff. If you use S, think about, is it a characteristic, like something that is a part of that thing or that person or that item, versus is it a condition, a state it is in that is changeable?
Okay.
Bien, see? And you know what? And if you make a mistake, no te
People don't
preocupes.
care.
Don't worry about it. This is a Saturday.
No,
Saturday-
but do people, I mean, I guess that's a big mistake that most foreigners make when they speak Spanish. So Spanish people, they don't really care, or
Do they-
it's,
Do
they're
they,
used to, they're used to,
they wait a beat to think about it, and then it's like, oh, that's what they mean. Yeah. They stop and pause, they pause mentally for a moment, but they know that people who are not speaking Spanish as a first language, that they know that they'll make mistakes with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an anticipated error. See, yeah. Okay.
That's when I speak in English to you, Hillary. Maybe sometime you can think it's like, what did you say?
It's the pause a beat to think about it kind of thing, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Vale, bueno. Okay, I'm going to send you out to breakout rooms and have some fun with that for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back. And you know what? If you have a little hitch, come back and talk about it when we do our summary at the end of the exercise. Vale, magnifico. I will send the picture to you in your rooms after everybody hits their join button. Ah, bien. Aquí vienen todos. We'll have everybody coming in gradually. Aquí vienen más. Here comes more folks. Okay. Vale, perfecto. Vamos a comparar las ideas. We're going to compare some ideas with this. And we may not all have the same ideas, or you may have had some question about how do I use that idea. Se expresa, which is perfectly okay. Ok, bien, vale. Perfecto, perfecto. Vamos a comparar. Let's compare some ideas. I'll put our little share screen up here on what these items are. En la línea A. And once I put the share screen on, I can't see everybody. So you'll have to pipe up and just shout out. ¿Cuál es la cosa que es diferente? What's the thing that's different?
La bicicleta no tiene motor.
La bicicleta, and there are many things you can use. I've got one example in here. La bicicleta, una persona usa la bici, one person uses a bike. La bicicleta no tiene motor, no tiene motor, doesn't have a motor. Sí.
El avión viaja en cielo.
Muy bien. El avión viaja en el cielo. I'm going to show you another verb we can use instead of viaja. El avión vuela. It is a stem changer. Volar means volar means to fly. The plane flies. Okay. ¿Qué más? ¿Qué más? En A, bici, avión, carro, metro. ¿Nada?
Nada.
¿Una pregunta? Any other question about that? No? Ok. En la línea B, la piscina o la alberca, la cancha de básquetbol, las pesas, la clase de yoga. ¿Cuál es diferente? Which one is different?
La
piscina.
alberca.
La alberca, ¿por qué, Tom? La alberca.
La alberca tiene agua.
La alberca tiene agua. Qué obvio, ¿no? Agua. Tiene agua. La alberca es diferente porque tiene agua. Sí. Bueno, ok. Algo más.
Una clase yoga es diferente porque different exercise. Different,
Okay.
I don't know how to say.
Pesas, what you were looking at, Lisa?
Oh, la clase de yoga.
La clase de yoga. La clase de yoga. Sí.
Clase de yoga.
La clase de yoga. Sí, bueno, no es un deporte con mucha fuerza. ¿No? No sé cómo se expresa. Sí, es difícil expresar, ¿no? Sí, la clase de yoga.
Muy calmo.
Yoga no es deporte. It's not really a sport. Usa menos fuerza, uses less, physical force, maybe.
El yoga no es competitivo.
Qué bueno. Sí. La clase de yoga, sí, no es competitiva. Sí, tienes razón. You are right. Eso es, that's true. Sí.
No es deportiva olímpica.
Un deporte olímpico, sí.
Ah,
Sí, no es deporte olímpico. It's not an
Right.
Olympic sport. You see how many different reasons we can come up. Eso
Wow.
es buena manera es buen ejercicio para expresar las ideas de otras maneras. Excelente. Algo más de la línea B. Anything else from line B?
I don't.
La cancha de basketball usa un momento. Canasta? La canasta? Canasta?
Una canasta. Sí, 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 sí. La cancha de básquetbol usa una canasta, uses a basket.
okay.
Sí, 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 sí. Buena idea, qué buena idea. Eso es. ¿Algo más de la línea B o no?
We said it needed a team also. I forget the word, the equipo.
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 Sí, sí.
Necesita.
Se usa, it is used, se usa con equipo. It's used with a team. Sí, eso es. Buena idea.
Equipo.
Ok, ¿algo más con B o no?
Sí.
No? Okay. You could even make the idea as simple as usar pesas no es divertido. Using weights is not fun. If that's your opinion, si es tu opinión, para mí, por ejemplo, para mí las pesas no son divertidas. For me, weights are not fun. Es opinión, pero no importa. Bien, ok. Vale. Bueno.
Pero mi hijo.
Sí, ok. Y si tenemos opiniones sobre la línea C, el paraguas, umbrella, el impermeable, raincoat, el abrigo, a coat, just abrigo is a heavy coat of some kind, right? El sombrero, hat. ¿Y cuál sería distinto? Which one would be different? ¿Sí? ¿Cuál sería diferente?
El sombrero.
El sombrero.
Es más pesado.
Perdón, otra vez, Diana.
El abrigo es más pesado.
El abrigo es más, sí, el abrigo es más pesado. It is heavier. Okay. Sí. Good point. Es pesado. It is heavy. That weight it has. It's a part of what that coat is. It carries weight. You know, I won't generally take the stuffing out and make it, make it lighter. Okay. Bien. Vale.
El paraguas no es ropa.
Otra vez, again.
El paraguas no es ropa.
It's not clothing. Okay.
No, es
not
Bien, bien.
clothing.
Sí. El
Yeah,
paraguas
no es ropa.
no es ropa.
Sí.
An umbrella is not an item of clothing. Eso es, sí.
No
El sombrero.
necesita el sombrero en la lluvia.
Sí. Es, sí. No necesitas el sombrero en la lluvia. Eso es, sí. Bien. Se usa, por ejemplo, se usa el sombrero
Cuando el verano.
cuando hace buen tiempo. Cuando
Para el sol.
hace sol, cuando hace sol, Cuando es verano,
Verano.
Summer.
hay muchas razones. There are many reasons. Cuando hace sol, when it's sunny. Cuando es verano, when it's summer.
Summer.
Cuando hace buen tiempo, when it's good weather. Eso es, sí. Ok. Bueno, fantástico. Algo más de las comparaciones aquí. Anything else about these little
See,
comparisons?
Marilyn, I thought about doing a sentence and then it wasn't going to be correct, but then as I thought about it, it's necessary to open an umbrella or better, the umbrella needs to be opened. Would you string together a bunch of needs to be? How do you?
Oh, here would be the easiest way to say that.
Paraguas.
If you want to express that idea, wouldn't we frequently say in English, well, you have to do this, right? You have to.
Instead of the complicated way.
You in the most generic sense of the word you. A way to do that is hay que. Hay que means one must.
Oh, it means one
Hay
must
que.
open it.
Not you as a particular person have to, but one must. Hay que abrir. Hay que abrir el paraguas. Por ejemplo, ¿sí? ¿Bien?
Sí.
Es buena pregunta. That's a
Okay.
good question. Hay que abrir el paraguas. Eso es. Bien. Me gusta. Okay. I kind of like this little type of exercise as a way of making you kind of flex your muscles a little more. Es difícil. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. It makes you think. It makes you think on your feet, which is what you have to really do in a conversation anyway. Yeah. See, we'll plug in some more of these next week. But, you know, simple little items, simple little things, or simple little actions, maybe. We'll mix it up a little bit. Okay. Vale. Fantástico. Hicieron bien. You guys did well. You guys did well. Okay. Vamos a pasar a otro tema. We're going to move on to a different theme. Does anybody have any leftover questions before we start on our next theme? And our next theme is going to be tener idioms in a really broad sense. But does anybody have any questions on, or I'm sorry, our next one is not tener idioms. Our next one is your five stem changers. Any questions on stem changing verbs in general? Any questions on stem changing verbs in general? The E to IE, the O to UE, the E to I. You just have to know which verbs those are. I know that's kind of pesky, but you get more comfortable with it with time. Anything that's outside of the shoe will not get the stem change. So that really means for your purposes, what will not get the stem change will be the nosotros form, but the other ones will, okay? Yeah. Okay, I had asked you to pick 5 stem changing verbs and create one sentence for each verb. 5 that you are most likely to use in your conversation. So that may be very different for one person versus another person. I might say, if I am a cook, someone who cooks a lot, I might use the verb calentar, to warm. And I might use caliento la leche antes de hacer el cappuccino. I warm my milk up before I make a cappuccino. But you may have no use for calentar, to warm up. If you don't touch that stove, if you are a big fan of ordering out and you don't cook, you're not going to use calentar. You're going to use something else. You might use, you know, tener, dormir, contar, right? There might be any other verb that you may use a lot. So whatever your 5 sentences are, I'm going to send you back out to small rooms to use that. So if you wrote that down, grab it somewhere. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any question before I send you off to do that little practice? Sí o no? No? Yeah? Okay, vale. I want you to take a good 5 minutes to share whatever your sentences are. They can be simple, they can be complicated, they can be anything that you have made them to be. It's just practice. So but 5 minutos. We'll give you 5 minutes with that. Okay, vale? And you don't need any share screen for that. So, bueno. Hit your join button. Oh, and bien, Liza, I think you froze up a little bit. I don't know if you can hear me or not. If you can hear me but can't see me, and if you just want to practice with me one-on-one, that is okay. Oh, no, she got that to go. Sometimes the connections with the Zoom buttons take a little bit of time to tweak and make them work properly. Everybody's working on their 5 sentences with stem changing verbs. It could be something like, no duermo bien después de comer mucho. I don't sleep well after eating a lot. Or it might be, duermo mucho después de comer mucho. I sleep a lot after eating a lot. It could be something like, no tenemos suerte en la lotería. We are not lucky with a lotto. It could be something like, te cuento una historia interesante. I'll tell you an interesting story. Could be something as simple as, te digo la verdad. I am telling you the truth. There is a real wealth of stem changing verbs, but the important thing is to pick ones off the big lists that will be things that you are more likely to use when you are talking back and forth with people. Because what you need to use is the key for the kind of vocabulary that you need to acquire and internalize and get comfortable with using. Y eso es, nos quedan 2 o 3 minutos. We've got about 2 or 3 minutes left. We'll let everybody finish up, and when we come back, we'll kind of recap, see what kinds of sentences people use, what kind of questions they have. If they weren't quite sure how to use something properly, we can tweak all those things upon coming back. Bien, eso es más fácil. It's easier when you have something to prep ahead of time, isn't it?
So I notice you're always saying SOS. Every
SOS.
other word. So this
Eso
is
es, that's the way it is.
This is something we need to integrate into our language here. SOS.
Yeah, eso
We can
es.
say that. We know how to say it.
There you go. Eso es, sí.
SOS.
If you want to make it really emphatic, eso sí que es. That's the way it is. Eso sí que es. That, yes. That's how it is. Eso sí
That's
que
how it
es.
is.
Here's the very, very bad joke of the day. Bad joke of the day. This was something one of my profs used to spring on us. Somebody who used to go up to the, well, this is before we had dry boards, right? Eso sí que es. Eso sí que es. Eso sí que es. Eso sí que es. Yeah. Box. Eso sí que es, which if you haven't had enough caffeine today, eso, yeah, becomes eso sí que es. Yep, that's just the way it is. Eso sí que es. Eso sí que es. Okay, bad joke of the day. We'll leave that alone now. Okay, bueno.
Wasn't that an old Spanish pedagogy for people who wanted to do the quick jump to learn Spanish?
Yeah. Sí. Okay. Then, all right. Any questions you had about what you did in that? Like something you weren't quite sure if you used it quite right, or?
I had one question about which verb really, I kind of looked up and saw several verbs for to cook. And is it cocer?
Cocer. There are several verbs for to cook, and kind of depending on the way that you cook it could be that. Ooh, we'll take a quick look at that. Cocer is an O-to-U-E. I will say that's not used with the kind of frequency that cocinar is used.
Okay.
Cocinar is very universally used, but cocer, C-O-C-E-R, yeah, it can be used. Sí. Cuesco, but it's.
I needed a stem changer, so.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, sí. Eso es. Yeah. Let's take a quick look. Qué buena pregunta. What a good question this is. There happened to be actually, I'm sure not by plan, it just so happens that there happened to be a few verbs related to that cooking field that are stem changers, like cocer, right? UE, calentar. Calentar is an IE stem changer, to heat, yeah, to heat up, to warm something. You know how sometimes you warm something, but maybe you don't bring it to a boil. Okay, so that's when we use calentar, see? So, and this comes up, you know, when you're reading recipes, you wind up coming across these verbs because recipes will use these a lot. So, calienta, warm up the, you know, whatever, warm up the milk, warm up the butter, warm up the whatever it is, you're warming it up. See, hervir is an IE stem changer, and that means to boil. See, hierve el agua, boil the water. Hierve happens to be a stem changer. One of our favorite words, freír. is an I stem changer. Ooh, this is a very, very odd to conjugate verb. This means to fry. Oh, to fry. So, you know, you may have frie. Frie, fry the whatever, see? Frie is fry. That brand name of frito comes from a Spanish word, frito. Frito means fried, right? Fried, like papas fritas are fried potatoes, okay? French fries, they don't call French fries. Papas fritas, fried potatoes. So a lot of cooking type verbs happen to be stem changers. Okay.
So if you say you warm yourself up, you say me calienta?
Oh, caliento, sí. Caliento la casa. I warm up the house because I turned on the furnace, maybe. Yeah, sí. Es posible, es posible. Okay. Bueno, otra pregunta o otro ejemplo. Any other example or any other question you have?
I had a question.
Sí, sí, dime.
So on like despierto, I was using despierto. I need to say me despierto.
Sí.
And do I use the say after it? Sometimes you use say after it?
No, what happens with that, and we'll do this maybe for the summer session. This will be because it's a big topic. And that's okay. No, that's okay. We can give you the short one. Despertar is to wake, but despertarse is to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to say I wake up, but I was
wake
told
up.
I should say me despiertos.
Perfecto. Perfecto. Me despierto. I wake up.
So you drop the say.
Needs, right. What happens is the se that you see at the end of the infinitive, despertarse, that se gets detached off the back. It morphs into a me because I now want to talk about me doing it. Okay, entiendes? Understand? And the se changes into a me. And the reason we have that is that sometimes I wake somebody else. I wake my kids up. Okay. Despierto, and then I don't need the me. Despierto a mis hijos. I wake my kids up. I go in.
But you don't need to say either.
Correct. There is no se at the end of that. The se happens when I do it myself. Me despierto. See, I know it's kind of another little one of the odd, quirky things we have to get used to with Spanish. Some verbs are that is an example of what is called a reflexive verb, meaning that technically it's something you do to yourself. Yeah, you just wake up on your own.
Yeah.
It's just an odd kind of thing. It's classification, a type of verb that they have. Okay, otras preguntas. Any other questions? No? Nah?
Nada.
Okay, vale. We're going to take a look at this little subject of, and you know, stem changing verbs, you'll keep coming across them over and over again. You'll hear them as people use them. Just know when you hear that ie in the middle of a verb or, you know, an ue in the middle of a verb, oh, it's a stem changer, right? Recomiendo, I recommend. Okay. Te recomiendo, I recommend to you. So that's just something that you'll get more and more comfortable the more and more you and the more that you have. We're going to take a look at this special kind of stem changing verb that is this animal, this animal of tener. Yeah? Tener is a very, very special verb in Spanish. It is a super special verb because tener has a couple of different kinds of jobs. And the one job it has, the very obvious job, is to indicate when somebody owns something, when they have something in their possession. But we do not use tener as an auxiliary verb in Spanish. So auxiliary verb or a helping verb. In English, we might say things like, oh, I have seen 2 movies this week, or she has bought a ton of things. Has bought, have seen. That is have as an auxiliary. So we cannot ever, 0%, we cannot use tener in that auxiliary verb sense, right? It means to have, own something, and then it's used in all of these odd idiomatic expressions. And these idioms are things you just have to accept them at face value. This is what they are. That tener is used in many expressions, and this is not necessarily an all-inclusive list, but it's a pretty good list. You know, when I was a kid, these were explained to me as, oh, when you have a physical sensation in your body, we use tener, but that reason does not really cut it for an expression like tener razón, to be right. Right isn't a physical sensation. Tener cuidado, to be careful. Careful is not a physical sensation. Tener prisa, to have a state of being hurried up, that is not a physical sensation. Yeah. Oh, tener sueño, to be sleepy. Yeah, that's a physical sensation. But, you know, that explanation doesn't cut it for a lot of these. But these are very, very easy to get used to once you hear people use them a lot. They are just idiomatic things, and it's the way they use them. And they didn't even include on this list tener que. Tener que plus an infinitive is sometimes put in this idiomatic list, even though, okay, other people don't consider it that. But tener is used in a lot of special ways. So I'm going to play the audio for these sentences at the right, in case you forgot that, so that you can hear a bunch of uses of tener. And then we'll practice some things together. And I think maybe rather than doing it as a breakout room, we might do it all together. But let's listen just to the answers here. During the summer, we're very hot. She's successful. She's a hit. Are you sleepy?
I'm not hearing any audio.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay, hang on. Momentito. Probably I need to enable sound. Perdón, gracias. Thank you for shouting that out. This will not take more than about 2 minutes, so let me do this again. I need to enable my sound button. Gracias, thank you. Never be afraid to shout out. Just like a video, this needs to have the audio button.
We couldn't see you typing in the answers either. Were you typing in?
Well, I'm not typing in the
Yeah.
answers, but
Okay.
I will try to do that. I will see if it will accept doing that. Let me back up all of my slides and buttons and all that fun stuff. Let's try this again. Okay, now you can see the screen. See?
See.
Okay, and I'll try to type them in. Ooh, is it going? Ooh, there's an interesting glitch. Let's try again. Otra vez.
No.
Wow. It's not going at all. Okay.
Uh-uh.
That's okay. I will substitute. Durante el invierno tengo mucho frío. Durante el invierno tengo mucho frío. You can see the tengo, right?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll be a substitute. Soy el, voy a sustituir, I'm going to substitute. Durante el verano nosotros tenemos mucho calor. Lady Gaga tiene éxito. ¿Tiene sueño? Ellas tienen mucho miedo. Nosotros tenemos mucha hambre. Los deportistas, and notice that deportistas, sport is. Ista is, like artista, pianista, violinista, but deportista would mean athletes, sports. Well, athletes, there you go. Los deportistas tienen sed. ¿Sí? El cartero tiene prisa. Rosa tiene vergüenza. Los niños
pequeños no
no tienen cuidado a veces. El profesor tiene razón. A veces tengo mucha suerte. Mi abuela tiene frío. Yo tengo mucha hambre.
¿Ustedes
tienen miedo? Ellos tienen mucho sueño. Nosotros tenemos sed. El bebé tiene frío. Julio y Ana tienen éxito. Yo siempre tengo la razón. And you may hear that without the la. I hear people saying tengo razón all the time. I wouldn't bother with la razón.
Okay. I was going to ask that.
Yo tengo razón. People always, tienes razón, you are right. I omit the la. Okay. Here is one thing to notice, though, about these tener idioms, is that whereas we in English often have an adjective, and we put in am or are or is, we don't use tener at all. I am cold, we are hot, they are successful, somebody is sleepy, okay? We use sleepy, successful, we use an adjective. They use a noun. You have a thing in Spanish with these expressions. So frío is not cold as in cold drink. It is the thing that is cold, coldness, essentially. And so if you want to say very cold, it has to be much cold. So look at how this morphs, this word much morphs between mucho and mucha, and it could become plural, but usually it's singular with these. So tengo mucho frío, very cold. Tenemos mucho calor, very hot. Frío, calor are masculine nouns. So mucho frío, mucho calor. Éxito, if you wanted to make it very successful, tiene mucho éxito. If you want to say very sleepy, it would have to be tienes mucho sueño, okay? You see in here, miedo. Miedo literally is fear, the thing that is fear, mucho miedo. Hambre, oddly, is a feminine thing. So it's not mucho hambre, it's mucha hambre. Mucha hambre, because hambre is a feminine thing. Sed is also a feminine thing. So if I wanted to say very thirsty, tienen mucha sed. Okay. Prisa is hurriedness. I have a lot of hurry. We would never say it that way in English. Tiene mucha prisa. Yeah, mucha prisa. Tiene mucha vergüenza. Very, very embarrassed. Vergüenza is actually in Spanish a pretty strong word because vergüenza's true translation is shame. Which, yeah, shame is like in English, quite a few steps above embarrassment, yeah, but vergüenza is what is used. Cuidado, tienen mucho cuidado if you want to, you know, intensify that. Razón, mucha razón would be very right. Oh, you are very right. Yeah. Mucha suerte. Suerte is a feminine thing, like razón is a feminine thing. Mucha suerte. Mucho frío, if you want to intensify that. Here we've got the intensifier, mucha hambre, right? If we want to intensify miedo, it's mucho miedo, right? We've got an intensifier here already, mucho sueño, very sleepy. Sed is a feminine thing. Mucha sed would be very thirsty. Frío, that's kind of obvious, es obvio. Mucho frío. And razón, mucha razón. You won't hear that a lot, but actually there's a famous song that's got that built in. So there we go. I would like you guys to share with me some of your ideas, and I'll bring up our screen here. I had given you some prompts using tener idioms, and I'd just like to see what kinds of ideas you have with finishing these sentences. Momentito. Aquí. Cuando tengo hambre, prefiero, when I am hungry, I prefer
Comer.
comer. It could be as simple as that. It can be as, sí, es posible. That is the simplest way. Prefiero comer. Prefiero.
Yogurt.
Bien. Prefiero, you can name a thing. Prefiero.
Yogurt. Yeah, yogurt. yeah.
Yogur. Bien.
Yogurt.
Cuando tengo hambre, prefiero.
Comer pizza con vegetales.
Pizza con vegetales. Bien, vale. Algo más, something else.
Un plato muy rico con pescado y verduras.
Wow, mucha comida. Bien, bien, bien. Fantástico. ¿Qué más?
Do you need an A before comer?
Oh,
comer or just
prefiero comer. No A in between the prefiero and the comer. Prefiero comer. Nada más, nothing else. Ok, algo más. Cuando tengo hambre, prefiero.
Ir al restaurante.
Ir al restaurante. I prefer to go to the restaurant. Magnífico.
I'll go with you, Trish.
Sí. Prefiero no cocinar. Bien. Prefiero no cocinar. I prefer not to cook. Okay. Bien, exacto. So you can see we have lots of leeway. Hay muchas posibilidades de expresar una idea lógica. Una idea lógica, a logical idea, ¿sí? Para completar la frase, to complete the sentence. You could use prefiero with, pair it up with a verb. You could pair up prefiero with a food item. Hay muchas posibilidades.
Yeah, know the word.
Cuando tengo sed.
Bebo agua.
Bebo agua.
Bebo té.
Bebo té.
Vino.
Bebo vino. Bebo
Té
vino.
helado. Té helado.
Té helado, iced tea, eso es, sí, especialmente en el verano, especially in summer, especialmente en el verano, exacto. ¿Algo más? Ok, 3. Tenemos hambre, pero no tenemos ganas de comer. But we don't feel like eating. We're hungry, but we don't feel like eating.
En casa, vamos al restaurante.
Exacto, en casa, at
Ujú.
home. Eso es, bien. ¿Algo más?
Las sobras en mi casa.
Bien. Sí,
Ujú.
bueno.
Oh,
¿Algo más?
una cente grande.
Bien. Me
What's
gusta,
that? What was
sí.
that word? I understood big. What was Asante?
Sante, dinner, cente? No, sorry, cene,
Cena.
cena, cena,
Cena,
or cena, cena.
Dinner, dinner.
I'm gonna get it yet.
Una cena grande, una cena grande. La
Gracias.
cena grande, you could, but una cena grande, a big dinner. Ok, vale. Bien, algo más para número 3. ¿No?
Ahora.
Serpiente.
Ahora sí, no tenemos ganas de comer ahora, right now, sí. Bueno, 4. Los niños tienen miedo
Serpiente.
serpientes, a las
Arañas.
a las arañas.
El médico.
Trueno.
Al médico, they're scared of the
yeah, the
doctor.
doctor, yeah.
Sí, eso sí me gusta, sí.
Muchas cosas.
A muchas cosas, los niños tienen miedo a muchas cosas. Serpientes,
Fantasmas.
fantasmas, ghosts,
Ujú.
los
Trueno.
monstruos,
Ujú, trueno.
Oscuridad.
la oscuridad, the dark.
Oh.
Bien, la oscuridad, the dark, sí.
Ruidos fuertes.
Ok, sí. Las tempestades, storms, sí, hay un montón de cosas, there are a ton of things, ¿no? Bueno, número 5, boom, 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 tiene mucho éxito en la música popular.
Bruno Mars.
Michael Bublé.
Madonna.
Madonna tiene mucho éxito, sí. ¿Qué más?
Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett tiene mucho, sí, eso es, sí.
Sí.
Bruno Mars.
Sí, Bruno Mars, exacto.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, sí. Oh, ya tenía, had. Sí.
Elvis.
Elvis. Sí, Elvis. And, algo más. I'm going to show you how you make it had instead of has. We change that verb from tiene to tenía. Tenía. Tenía would change it from present to past. Had. Bien. Okay. A ver.
Coming in. Tenía.
Okay, sí, tenía. That just makes it a past. Okay. Bueno, número 6. Boom, 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 boom. No tiene razón nunca. Is never right.
Mi esposo.
Mi esposo.
Sí.
Mark, you can say mi esposo.
Mi hijo mayor, my oldest.
I
Mi hijo
can't
mayor.
say that. She's nearby.
Mi esposa no tiene razón nunca. Pero, no lo puedo decir. No lo puedo decir. I cannot say it. No lo puedo decir. I cannot say it. Bien. Ok. A ver. Bueno, tengo prisa cuando
Cuando hay mucho tráfico.
Cuando hay mucho tráfico.
Bien.
Cuando ir del aeropuerto.
Bien, sí.
Yo soy tarde por trabajo.
Soy tarde.
Llego tarde.
A las 5 cuando es las 5 cuando son las 5 de la tarde, when it's 5 o'clock, tengo prisa cuando hay mucho trabajo, tengo prisa cuando, bueno, hay muchos ejemplos, ¿no? Cuando preparo la comida y son las 6. I'm fixing dinner and it's already 6. Bien, sí, ok. 8. Mis hijos tienen o mi hijo tiene, mi hija tiene y edad, age.
Mi hijo.
Hijo tiene 29 años.
Perfecto. This will always be a number here. So this one has to be a number and años, or
Mis
well, if they were,
hijas
Yes, he said.
mis hijas tienen 52 años. Mis hijas.
bien, vale, bueno. Okay, if you got more than one kid, mis hijos tienen, por ejemplo, 26 y 22 años. You would just connect the two numbers if you had a few, right? But always, but it's always have years, and that's a hard one for English speakers to get used to, okay? Because we say I am, but if you say this, so this gives you an idea. This is a bigger mistake than mistaking ser estar, okay, when we talk about age, because it sounds totally weirded out to a Spanish speaker to say soy 60 años, I am 60 years. That's like saying I am a great big number, okay? And that doesn't make any sense to them because in Spanish you have a number of years, okay? You have an age. Número 9. En el verano tenemos ganas de, in summertime, we feel like
Nadar.
nadar. Muy lógico. Tenemos ganas de nadar. We feel like
Unas
swimming.
vacaciones.
Tenemos ganas de ir de vacaciones, de tomar unas vacaciones.
Deja ser nada cuando es humedido.
¿Medido?
Humedido.
Oh, húmedo.
Humedido.
Húmedo. Humid. Sí. Okay. And I'm rushing a little bit because we're getting kind of late here. Shall we leave the rest for next week?
Sure.
Sí. Bien. Okay. Let's leave the last, like, keep this. We'll finish this off for next week because I kind of hate to cut you short because we have lots of good ideas to share. So we'll revisit that. You're going to get a little story for homework where you'll hear, and I think it might only be one of these 10 idioms. You're going to hear a little story, and it's going to be a very short and easy story, but it's a very cute story, and it definitely reminds me of my son when he was little, just with a different problem. Okay. And you're going to hear one of the 10 idioms, so I want you to be on the lookout for the 10 idioms. And we're also going to take a look at a special way that we do use estar. A special way of using estar for talking about present progressive, things that are happening in the moment. When we talk about things that are happening in the moment. And I'll send you a little video that will show you the pattern on how that works because it's super easy and super simple to use. So one video on that, one video on ser estar. We're going to do another one of those little pick the one thing that doesn't fit in the group next week, like off the cuff. Yeah. And eso es. I think that's it for this week. Sí, está bien.
Está bien.
Está bien. Perfecto. Muchísimas gracias. Many thanks. And we'll finish up our little idioms. So bring them back next week. We'll finish them up at the end. Bien.
Sí, gracias.
Que tengan buena semana. Everybody have a good week at the start of our week here. Sí, hasta luego. Cuídense.
Hasta luego.
Cuídense.